Hello po Ma'am Abby, bali na sa chat na po yung YouTube link.
Thank you. Share ko na kapag nag-max na tayo.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our administrator, to the admin heads, and to you, my dear co-employee. Welcome to learning session on Safe Spaces Act, Bawal Bastos Law, RA 111313. I am Berna Liza Robego from the Human Resources Department, and I will be your moderator for this session. But before we formally begin, let's ask the guidance from our Lord through a doxology followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
And God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. Oh God, make a way where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. By a roadway in the wilderness, he'll lead me. Rivers in the desert will I see. Heaven and earth will fade, but his word will still remain. That's right. And he will do something new today. Oh, God will make a way, yes, he will, where there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. With love and strength. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. Yes, he will. He will make a way for you.
Again, good morning, everyone. Thank you to each and every one of you to be being here today to formally open and welcome us this morning. We have invited our hospital administrator to give us an opening message. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you our hospital administrator, Ms. Leilani O. Estacio. Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning to everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, actually, it is my honor not to deliver these welcome remarks before each and every one of you on this occasion as we gather to be informed of the topic to be discussed. No, actually, this topic is quite not new to us, or for some, even for me, medyo hindi ko rin alam to, I'll be honest. No, but the Safe Spaces Act, as I do my research, no, they are commonly known as yung Bawal Bastos Law, which directly acts, on sexual harassment in public area. So it's good to know that the HRD had the initiative, to give us this kind of learning. So let's learn together as we open this forum. Again, magandang umaga and thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your informative and warm welcome to all our attendees this morning. Thank you, ma'am Lei. Again, if we have time later, we will entertain all your questions. Kindly write down or kindly type into your chat box and we will try to answer all your questions one by one later. To begin our session this morning, on April 2019, the previously known as the Bawal ang Bastos Bill on Republic Act 11313, Safe Spaces Act was signed into law. Said bill aim of ensuring an individual sense of personal space public safety. Ang batas na ito ay nakapokus na gender-based sexual harassment in street, public spaces, online, and workplaces. Provides protective measure and prescribed penalty. Therefore, to further educate us about this law, please allow me to introduce our resource person for this morning. She is currently a faculty member at the College of Criminal Justice Olpo Pampanga campus. She took up her bachelor's degree and master in nursing at the Angeles University Foundation and also finished her Juris Doctor with the same university. She is a professor with more than 10 years of experience in healthcare and national government sector, particularly in law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, our lovely speaker, Attorney April Eleanor C. Hugo. Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Magandang umaga, magandang buhay sa ating lahat ngayong araw na ito. We are so blessed that we are given this opportunity to share what we've been eyeing for the past years na ma-enact as to law itong ating or ating Safe Spaces Act. So dati kasi it is well known as Bawal Bastos Law, but this was renamed as Safe Spaces Act nung ito ay enact sa ating Kongreso. So without further ado, let me share my PowerPoint so that we can learn more ito sa ating session this morning. So ayan. Nakikita nyo ba yung aking screen? Go back.
Yes, attorney.
Ayan. So, ito na nga yung ating tinatawag na Safe Spaces Act. By the way, yung act ng ating audience this morning is very close to my heart. Itong ating healthcare sector. So, considering that I am also a registered nurse, gustong-gusto kong i-share ito with the touch of this, with the touch of the law. So, itong tinatawag nating Safe Spaces Act or otherwise known as the Republic Act number 11313. So, hindi niyo siya makakalimutan dahil 11313. So, madali siyang matandaan. This is an act defining gender-based sexual harassment in where streets, public spaces, online, workplaces, education, or training institutions. So, nandyan na sa mismong batas kung ano ba itong tinutukoy na na pinoprotektahan ng batas na ito, gender-based sexual harassment. And itong batas na ito, it provides protective measures, and ito ay, mind you, prescribing penalties. This is a special penal law. So meron itong kasamang kulong, hindi lang siya fine or fine na binibigay ng batas, but there is a corresponding imprisonment. So next is, you will think, bakit merong safe spaces pa? Alam ko, noon naririnig ko na, when still I am not a lawyer, na isa rin akong nasa healthcare sector, alam ko may sexual harassment law na. So ano to, magkamukha ba sila ng Safe Spaces Act? Bakit kailangan pa ng Safe Spaces Act? Meron naman palang anti-sexual harassment law noong 1995 pa. So sabi ng ating research, sexual harassment has become an epidemic in the workplace, in academic institutions, in public places, including hospital settings, on social media platforms, and anywhere or everywhere else across the globe. It is evident that there exist inequalities between men and women, the physically challenged or disabled, as well as the members of our LGBTQ+ community. Everyone, regardless of age, gender, status, and physical condition, should be treated fairly. Yan ang sabi ng ating batas. There should be no place for any kind of discrimination, harassment, or violence in a truly democratic country. So eto na nga. Ever since Republic Act number 7877, or yung tinatawag nating Anti-Sexual Harassment Law, was passed in law in 1995, it has provided protection. Kanino? For women only. And in the areas of employment, education, and training. Very specific itong batas ng anti-sexual harassment. It only provides protection for women in areas of employment, education, and training. So, kung titingnan mo siya, wet ang ano nun, WE, working, education, and training. So doon lang siya ina-apply. However, sabi ng research again, 2 decades later, the issue of sexual harassment still remains to be a major threat against the cultivation of conducive learning and working environments. Not only that, the law, itong RA 7877, has also a limited scope and coverage. Thus, it leaves many incidents of sexual harassment outside the ambit of the law. Okay. So, based on research, 88% of women aged 18 to 24 years old experience sexual harassment in the streets. So, hindi lang siya nakikita sa household. Ganyan karami, 88% nasa streets. While sabi niya, wolf whistling o yung pinipito and catcalling are the more common cases. So everyone has, siguro not, kung di man everyone, most of us have experienced yung pinipituhan ka, especially naglalakad ka sa daan. Or may tinawag ka, oh Miss Maganda, or Miss Sexy, ganon. So akala ng iba, this is just normal or it's part of the norms, but it's not. This is other, meron din palang other forms of sexual harassment, hindi lang yung mga yon, which is are the common. It include lascivious language, stalking, robbing, so yung bigla ka na lang sinisikot, sinisiksikan ka pala, and yun na pala is a form of sexual harassment. Or touching, so yung patapik-tapik lang sa likod, or yung unintentional or unwelcome na hawak sa'yo na hindi, akala mo dati, just a part of the norms again. Pero ito pala, pero sa palagay nung person, unwelcome siya, nasasaktan siya psychologically, may mental effect pala to sa kanya. So these are forms of sexual harassment din pala, exhibitionisms and public masturbation. Yung biglang may biglang sasakay sa loob ng jeep, tapos bigla siyang magbabati sa harapan ng mga nakasakay, and then bigla na lang siyang tatakbo. Ikaw naman na biktima, nakita mo siya, wala kang magawa kasi ang bilis-bilis niya, hindi mo nga kilala yung tao, but still this is already a form of sexual harassment. So 58% of these incidents, sabi niya, take place on the streets and small alleys. So sa mga skinita, they have also been reported to happen in public vehicles, washrooms, schools, and workplace. So itong mga data na to, hindi lang sila nandyan for purposes of publishing them. So ginamit ito ng ating Kongreso. Okay? So that's why on April 17, 2019, the Safe Spaces Act, or previously called as Anti-Bastos Law, was signed into law, and it took effect on August 3, 2019. So very fresh itong ating batas. So far, nasa ika-4th niya na year, ika-4th year niya sa August. That's why nung nagre-research ako ng latest jurisprudence from the Supreme Court, wala pang case na naiakyat sa Supreme Court, or possible na may naiakyat pero wala pang decision sa Supreme Court, considering that this is a very new law. Its IRR was approved on October 28, 2019. So ano ba itong Safe Spaces Act? It aims to ensure individuals' sense of personal space, hindi lang personal but also public safety, and addresses gender-based sexual harassment in public areas such as streets, privately owned places open to the public. So even if it is a privately owned place, but it is open to public, including yung mga public utility vehicles natin, streets, among others. So we will expand that enumeration later on. It also extends the protection even to cyberspace, na very timely, especially nung panahon nitong pandemic, na we transform yung ating line of communication, even our education, into online setting, and provides prohibited acts and their corresponding penalties. That's why, according to sa aking mga nabasang publications, nung panahon ng pandemic, mas tumaas ang sexual harassment. Napaka-unfortunate na mas tumaas ang sexual harassment. And ang majority of those who were sexually harassed are still women. Bakit? Dahil nandun sila sa household. So based on statistics, mas tumaas yung statistics ng harassment sa household. And nagkaroon din ng mas mataas na statistics ng sexual harassment sa public areas, especially sa inyo, sa ating mga medical practitioners, sa ating mga health workers, na nagkaroon ng bullying, nagkaroon ng stigma ang mga tao. So that's and nagkaroon ng violation ng personal space yung ating mga healthcare dahil kinakatakutan sila. In fact, may mga nabalita pa na ayaw silang papasukin sa mga establishments dahil natatakot, allegedly may stigma na maka-acquire sila ng COVID-19 infection. So, napaka-timely na itong Safe Spaces Act. Okay, so just for you to be aware kung ano ba yung difference ng Anti-Sexual Harassment at Safe Spaces Act. Pag ba itong anti-sexual harassment, dahil subsequently, merong Safe Spaces Act, na-amend na ba ito? Na-repeal na ba ito? Hindi na ba relevant yung anti-sexual harassment? The answer is no. So they exist, they coexist. So itong batas na ito, pareha silang pwedeng i-apply. So ang difference ng batas, dito sa anti-sexual harassment, ang setting lang is work, education, or training. Sabi ko nga, WET. So itong pagdating sa Safe Spaces Act, marami ng cover. Ano yung coverage? It covers yung 5: streets, public spaces, cyberspace or online, and yung ating work, education, or training. So idinagdag dyan yung streets, public spaces, and online. Okay? Sino yung mga pwedeng managot sa batas? Itong employer doon sa anti-sexual harassment, yung employee, manager, supervisor, agent of the employer, teacher, instructor, professor, coach, trainer, and any other person. Ang nakalagay dyan, very specific, meron silang enumeration. Yun yung mga taong merong authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over the victim. Kung wala yung element na yan, hindi yan papasok na anti-sexual harassment case. Pero dito sa ating safe spaces, it includes anyone kasi ito ay gender-based. Pwedeng lalaki, pwedeng bata, pwedeng matanda, pwedeng member of the LGBTQ+ community. So anyone. So ganyan kalawak itong Safe Spaces Act. And sabi ko nga, walang requirement na merong influence, authority, ascendancy yung offender doon sa victim. And yung pinapenalize na gravamen pagdating sa anti-sexual harassment is the abuse of one's authority, influence, or moral ascendancy. Hindi yung act of sexual harassment itself. Dito sa Safe Spaces Act, it is the act of sexually harassing a person. So yun yung pinapenalize dito, hindi yung moral ascendancy. So on the basis of his or her sexual orientation, gender identity, and or expression. Okay. So kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan, ano ba tong gender-based sexual harassment? From the terms themselves, GBSH refers to the conducts that cause or likely to cause mental, emotional, or psychological distress and fear of personal safety to a person. On the basis of what? On the basis of gender, gender identity, and or expression. And nakalagay dyan, specifically regardless of the motive for committing such action or remarks. So pag sinabi natin regardless of motive, so kung pakiramdam nung offender, it's just normal, bineso niya yung babae, tinap niya sa likod, or kinausap niya ng very close proximity, and ang defense niya ay it's just a normal part of the norms na nakikipagbesohan kami dahil dito sa opisina namin, common naman yan. But ang sabi ng batas, regardless of the motive. So ang ibig sabihin nito, the law penalizes even if yung offender wala siyang motibo. It's on the part of the victim na nakaramdam ng harassment. So pag naramdaman niya it constitutes sexual harassment, then it is gender-based sexual harassment. Okay? So regardless of motive, so yung defense na in good faith or lack of intent, hindi naman niya sinasadya, no, hindi yan defense pagdating dito sa dito sa GBSH ng Safe Spaces Act. Unlike doon sa anti-sexual harassment, yung intention is according dun sa mga jurisprudence ng Supreme Court, pwede pa rin siyang maging defense. Okay, so case to case doon sa part ng anti-sexual harassment, but this one dito sa gender-based, very specific yung batas regardless of motive ang nakalagay. So intent is not a defense. Okay, so given the time that we are given, so ito lang ang gusto ko maalala ninyo dito sa Safe Spaces Act. Masyadong mahaba, no, hindi naman relatively hindi ganun kahaba yung batas, but gusto ko may mabaon kayo pag uwi ninyo sa inyong mga tahanan na 10 important matters na that you can share and you may apply. And kung ikaw din mismo ay naging biktima ng ng violation of safe space, so ito yung kailangan na maalala ninyo. Okay, first, what does the Safe Spaces Act protect against? So, ano ba yung pinaprotektahan? Ito yung pinaka-importante nitong batas na to. Ano ba pinaprotektahan ng batas nito? So, the Safe Spaces Act protects against gender-based sexual harassment. So, kanina, nabanggit na natin kung ano ba yung gender-based sexual harassment. So, ito naman, may areas of protection. Kasi sabi sa batas, may 4 na area na pinoprotektahan yung Safe Spaces Act. Number 1, gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment. So, napaka-broad. Streets and public spaces. The next is gender-based online sexual harassment. So, doon sa cyberspace. Next is sa workplace. And the last one is sa education and training. So, itong mga examples dito, these were enumerated doon sa ating batas. So, itong ating gender-based sexual harassment dito sa following areas na to, in streets, roads, sidewalks, and alleys. So, nandyan yan sa enumeration and definition ng public space. In public parks, malls, internet shops, cinemas, theaters, spas, and other recreational spaces. So, pag nangyari dyan yung sexual harassment that constitutes gender-based sexual harassment. Sa church, so kanina nabanggit natin in PUVs, in transport terminals, PUVs, and in private vehicles, even private vehicles, covered by app-based. Ito yung mga Grab, yung mga app-based transport network services. So, yan, basta doon nagkaroon ng sexual harassment, mako-constitute siya ng violation ng Safe Spaces Act. Next is in public buildings. So kung may sa mga government agencies, public washrooms, kasi yung mga mga areas tago di ba? And spaces used as evacuation centers. Dati kasi ang sexual harassment, as I've told you, doon lang siya sa working, doon sa training and education. So kung titignan mo itong mga to, taguyang mga yan, doon nga sa ating statistics kanina, hindi ba? Doon madalas nangyayari yung mga sexual harassment. That's why na-cover yan under the streets and public spaces sexual harassment in government offices, public, private, workplaces, and schools. So kanina, pwedeng papasok yung hospital setting doon sa public places na tinatawag natin, especially if it is privately owned but it is open to public. So kasama din siya if it is a government hospital kasi dandun naman siya sa public areas. So walang lusot na sasabihin nila ay hindi siya covered, but it's covered. In restaurants, bars, or public markets. So, and yung pinaka-last is online. So, yan yung mga enumerated under the law na kung saan pwedeng makumit yung Safe Spaces Act. At the same time, itong batas na to, pinoprotektahan niya yung mga victims of sexual harassment dito sa mga lugar na ito. So, as you can see, parang lahat pwedeng makumit, di ba? Exact doon lang kung nasa household ka. Kasi ibang criminal offense naman ang mangyayari kapag doon na-commit yung crime. But pag nandito siya sa mga areas na to, then we might consider na this is a sexual harassment under the Safe Spaces Law. Next, the second thing that you should know, who can commit gender-based sexual harassment under the law. So as I've mentioned, hindi na po lang siya limited doon sa mga may moral ascendancy, influence, and meron silang power over doon sa kanilang biktima. But it can be committed by anyone. Okay? Anyone can commit gender-based sexual harassment. These include people on the street, those with authority, influence, or moral ascendancy. Even yung mga covered doon sa anti-sexual harassment, they can also commit itong Safe Spaces Act. So dalawang kaso ang pwedeng maisampa sa kanila. Those with authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over others, such as teachers, trainers, superiors. So pwede rin nilang makomit yung Safe Spaces Act kasi it include anyone. Peers, such as classmates or friends. Kasi dati hindi ito nakikita. Kasi isipin mo, si ma'am lang pala yung pwedeng magkaroon ng sexual harassment. But now, ako kasi I am a professor. So makikita mo, hindi lang, mas marami pa ngayong harassment sa isang sa professor rather than do sa mga bata dahil ako din ay government lawyer ng DepEd. So meron tayong child protection policy. At ngayon, nakikita namin na nagiging way din siya to abuse itong mga teachers din natin. So it's the other way around na, hindi na lang yung mga bata yung sinasabi nilang naharas, but more so itong ating mga teachers, itong ating mga professors. So hindi na may makakaligtas yung mga ganitong harassment din. In between mga estudyante, peers such as classmates or friends, subordinates such as employees, trainees, or students. So ngayon na-answer na yung gap dati na ang nakakasuhan lang ng sexual harassment are those people na merong moral ascendancy over the victim, such as yung mga teachers nga, yung ating mga employers. Ngayon pwede na the other way around. Okay? So what acts counts as gender-based sexual harassment? Ito na yung ating mga kailangan malaman. Ano ba yung mga nagko-constitute na act na pwedeng ma-consider na gender-based sexual harassment? So nabanggit ko kanina kung ano ba yung public spaces kasi ito yung majority ng coverage ng safe spaces na pwede siyang makumit sa public spaces. So pag sinabi nating public spaces, yung mga kanina na binanggit ko, yung streets, alleys, public parks, schools, buildings, malls, bars, restaurants, transportation terminals, etc. So dito yun pwedeng itong mga itong ating mga counts or acts of sexual harassment, doon sila pwedeng makomit. And even sa ating mga trainings, education, and working. So yung pag-discuss ko ng mga acts na to, covered na rin yung other areas, such as yung sa online, yung doon sa working, and sa education. So in general, ito yung mga acts. Number 1 is catcalling. Ano ba yung catcalling or wolf whistling? Yung catcalling, it is an unwanted remarks directed towards a person. And it is commonly done in the form of wolf whistling, yung namimito, unwanted invitations. misogynistic, transphobic, and homophobic and sexist slurs. So ano ba yung misogynistic? Pag sinabi natin misogynistic, ito yung mga statements na in whatever form or however they are delivered, are indicative of feeling of hating women. So, yun kaya sinasabi nila, oh, misogynist ka. Kasi merong yung statement is indicative of a feeling of hating a woman or kung hindi naman ganoon, belief that men are inherently better than women. So parang mga examples niya na ang mga babae salot, yung mga babae mahina yan, mas gusto ko yung lalaki kasi mas magaling. So nangyayari din yan sa hospital setting, hindi ba? Halimbawa, nakita mo yung attendant, yung nurse attendant, lalaki siya. Tapos hindi mo masyadong nakita mo hindi siya masyadong well-groomed or nakita mo physically hindi siya okay para sa iyo. So sasabihin mo, ay ayoko yan, gusto ko yung babaeng malinis. Gusto ko yung yung iba, ayoko sa kanya. So that's already being misogynistic or gusto mo na ay ayoko yan, mukha siyang lampa kasi yung lalaking to, ayoko to, mas mukha siyang lampa. Doon ako dun sa parang doon kay kuya, doon sa may matipuno. So 'di ba? That's already a indicative of misogynistic remark. Next is transphobic. Ano naman yung mga transphobic? Ito naman yung mga statements in whatever form or however again delivered that indicative of fear or hatred or aversion towards persons whose gender identity and or expression do not conform with their sex assigned at birth. So, mga example, tingnan mo siya, feeling babae siya pero trans yan. Ayoko sa kanya na mag-attend sa akin kasi ang lambot-lambot yan baka madumi yan. Or namakla or baka may AIDS pa yan. So, yung mga yan, they are form of gender bias. It refers to a preference for one gender over another. And it is often based dun sa kanilang prejudices and stereotypings. So, yun yung mga transphobic. Ano naman yung homophobic and sexist slurs? Ito naman yung mga statements in whatever form or however delivered that are indicative again of fear, hatred, or aversion towards persons who are perceived to be or actually identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, pansexual, and other persons of diverse sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, or towards any person perceived to or actually have experienced same-sex attraction. So ayoko sa kanya, mga typical, ayoko sa kanya kasi bakla yan tomboy, bisexual siya. Kaya marumi yung bakla. O kaya gay men belong to salons. Hindi siya pwede dito kasi bakla yan Hindi yan pwede dito sa organization natin. And mind you, hanggang ngayon, existing tong mga to. Pang parlor lang ang mga bakla. So, that constitutes as homophobic and sexist slurs. So next, etong groping. Ano ba yung groping? Yung involuntary holding, yung bigla mo na lang siyang hahawakan, dadakmain. So that is groping. So yung other forms, yung public masturbation or flashing of private parts, very self-explanatory naman. So paano ba yan? Yan, magbabati siya sa harapan ng maraming tao or maghuhubad-hubad, tapos biglang tatakbo. Pwede rin yung any other physical or verbal advances. So kung hinipo ka or yung tinapik yung puwet, mga ganon. So that's mga physical or verbal. Pwede rin niyaya ka, verbal advances na unwelcome sa'yo. Kasi di ba, sabi ko nga, ang tatandaan nyo dito sa safe spaces, laging unwelcome. Okay, so regardless of motive and unwelcome sa part ng victim. Next is unwanted invitations. Itong mga may text, may chat. Gusto mo bang ganito? Meet up tayo sa ganyan. Or sendan ng mga videos na obscene yung mga videos, and then it is perceived as sexual harassment ng taong naka-receive kasi may mga ganyan may kaibigan din ako narinig ko yun na pinadalan siya ng picture ng ari ng lalaki and tinanong siya kung ano bang masasabi niya. That's already a form of sexual harassment. Okay? Relentless request for personal information. Yung may message mo siya and then itatanong mo kung anong Instagram account niya, TikTok account, anong cellphone number, What else? Pwede rin tanungin kung saan siya nakatira, ano ba yung madalas niyang ginagawa. Yun, yung mga personal, request for personal information. And persistent uninvited comments or gestures on a person's appearance. Yung very typical of us Filipinos. Makikita mo yung isang tao after how many years na hindi kayo nakita and unang bati mo sa kanya, uy, tumaba ka. Uy, pumayat ka. Uy, tumanda ka. Mga ganon, di ba? Very common Filipino conduct. Yung ganon. Uninvited, di ba? Comments or gestures. Hindi lang yan sa pagsasalita, even sa text, even kapag ka sa GC. Okay? Pwedeng makomit yung mga sexual harassment na yan na hindi naman hinihingi or especially kung dun pa sa physical appearance niya, oh, nagpagawa ka ba ng ganito? Tumangos yung ilong mo nag-iba yung itsura mo, mas maganda ka dati. Mga ganun. Or lumaki yung dibdib mo, siguro nagpaano ka kay ganyan. Oh, that's already uninvited comments. And yung iba, hindi sila aware. Hindi sila aware itong mga offender na nakakapag-offend sila. Ito din namang mga victims, hindi rin sila aware that these remarks are constituting already of the crime of gender-based sexual harassment. Okay? So, ito just for you to know, although yung aking focus is sa inyong hospital setting, this is FYI, yung sa ating education and training institutions. So, nabanggit ko kung nakomit itong mga acts constituting GBSH sa ating public spaces, including itong schools, ano yung pwedeng gawin, okay, ng ating mga education and training institutions. So, kung halimbawa may mga anak kayo, just for you to know, itong mga to, sa mga school, ano ba yung pwedeng gawin? All schools, whether public or private, shall designate, sabi niya, an OIC to receive complaints. Kasi ito na yung focus ko kasi madalas wala silang idea anong gagawin. So itong si eskwela, dapat meron siyang OIC to receive complaints regarding violations. Hindi pwedeng sasabihin nila, ay, mag-file na lang po kayo ng kaso sa korte. Wala po, hindi po kasi kami makapag-imbestiga. No. The school has the obligation under the law to designate an OIC to receive complaints. Ensure that victims were provided with gender-sensitive environment. So, nire-require na rin ngayon na meron talagang area sa isang eskwelahan na kung saan doon nire-receive yung mga biktima ng sexual harassment that is both respectful to the victim's needs and conducive to truth-telling. And adopt and publish grievance procedures to facilitate the filing of complaints by the students and faculty members. So, maliban doon sa mag-iimbestiga na sila, meron din dapat daw silang grievance machinery procedure. Ito yung doon pag-uusapan, meron silang committee, tinatawag nating CODI, Committee on Decorum. Okay. So, ito yung duty ng eskwelahan. Upon knowledge, so hindi necessary na sa eskwelahan dapat may magrereklamo. No. Ang eskwelahan, even if nalaman lang niya from the others, not necessarily nang lumapat talaga yung biktima, even others may complain, may file their complaints. Okay? Ang gagawin ng eskwelahan, upon knowledge lang, nalalaman lang niya from someone of there is a gender-based sexual harassment or sexual violence, the school should promptly investigate. Yan yung nakalagay sa batas. Regardless kung merong mga nagreklamo or nakarating sa pagkakaalam ng eskwelahan ng head of the school na merong ganitong nangyayari na sexual harassment, they should promptly investigate to determine the veracity of such info or knowledge and the circumstances under which the act of gender-based sexual harassment or sexual violence were committed and take appropriate steps to resolve the situation. And then the school must take immediate action to eliminate the same acts and to prevent their occurrence and address their effects. So, ito yung madalas na tinatanong kasi, attorney, kasi po wala pong nag-complain, natatakot po kasi yung bata, hindi po niya masabi na hinaras po siya ng teacher niya or nung kaklase niya. Pero nakarating sa management. So, si management dapat kagad siyang mag-prompt investigation. Motu proprio yung tawag doon. On its own, pwede siyang mag-investiga according sa batas. Okay? And then, duties of school heads. So, magkakaroon ng dissemination or post ng copy ng batas na to for awareness. Magkakaroon ng information campaigns. Ito yung tinatawag kong creation of an independent internal mechanism o yung tinatawag natin CODI to investigate and address complaints. So, bawat eskwelahan sa Pilipinas dapat meron silang CODI. Okay? Provide and disseminate in consultation with all persons in education institution a code of conduct or school policy. So kapag government, meron tayong mga child abuse, merong batas for those covered under public schools. And pag naman private, yan, meron tayong mga school policies, yung internal rules ng isang eskwelahan. Okay? And then, just so you know, yung may mga implementing bodies tayo na in-enumerate ng batas para i-execute or implement itong ating safe spaces with regard to yung streets and public places na kung saan pwedeng makumit yung safe spaces. Ito yung MMDA doon sa Metro Manila, local units of the Philippine National Police, yung ating mga women's desk, yung ating PCW or yung Philippine Commission on Women, yung primary national government agency natin, which is yung ating DILG or the internal local government, yung ating DICT, yung Information and Communications Technology, yung ating anti-sexual harassment enforcers or yung mga ASH na tinatawag natin, mga desk enforcers, and yung ating mga anti-sexual harassment desk in all barangays. So may mga ganyan po tayo existing sa ating mga city halls and barangays. Okay, ito yung sabi ko kanina, pag nakumit yung gender-based streets and public spaces na sexual harassment, hindi lang siya basta sasabihan or ipa-fine, but there is a corresponding imprisonment. Okay, imprisonment and or fine ang nakalagay sa batas, ranging from 1,000 to 100,000, and yung ating community service up to imprisonment of 1 month, 1 day to 6 months. So in a way, parang lumilitaw po siyang correctional penalty. Okay, so may correctional penalty siya na 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. Depende sa presence ng aggravating or mitigating circumstance po ng ating na-commit na gender-based sexual harassment. Next, ito na po yung para sa atin dito sa ating hospital setting in the workplace. Okay, the following are considered gender-based harassment, whether done verbally, pwede po yan, sinabi, pwedeng physically or through any communication technology. Ibig sabihin, kung ginamit yung cellphone, ginamit yung laptop, via online, sa ating mga social media platforms. So ito po yung mga acts. Okay? Unwelcome sexual advances. Okay? Requests or demands for sexual favors. Acts of sexual nature or other similar acts that has or could have been had a detrimental effect on an individual's employment or education, job performance, or opportunities. So, ayan po yung number 1 na act. The next is the conduct of a sexual nature or other conduct based on sex affecting a person's dignity. So, kanina yung naapektuhan is yung employment niya. This one is the dignity, which is unwelcome, unreasonable, and offensive to the recipient. And the third one is unwelcome, pervasive conduct creating an intimidating, hostile, or humiliating environment for the recipient. So, hindi lang siya something na sexual, hindi ba? Pwedeng intimidating, even humiliating, pinahiya ka ng iyong employer, pinahiya ka ng kasama mo sa trabaho. Okay? So papasok po siya na violation ng Safe Spaces Act kasi ang nasabi, hindi na lang siya sexual harassment. This one is gender-based sexual harassment, yung ating tinutukoy, but yung law is so wide. It also covers yung other forms of harassment, such as this, yung unwelcome, pervasive conduct, creating an intimidating, hostile, or humiliating environment for the recipient. Okay? So, ito po yung ating careful tayo sa ating mga actuation, especially when we are in the public places. Okay? Pag minsan biro-biro, pero ngayon pala nakakasakit na ng damdamin ng iba, napapahiya na sila. And regardless of motive, pwede kang makasuhan ng safe spaces. Okay? So, ito, based ito sa World Health Organization, International Labor Organization, Women and Global Health as published by Inquirer. According po sa ating World Health Organization, 30% of women worldwide have been subjected to either physical abuse or sexual violence by partners or non-partners. Unfortunately, the cases of abuse against women did not stop in households, as I've mentioned. Data from a joint analysis by International Labor Organization, Lloyd's Register Foundation and Analytics Company said violence and harassment at work remain widespread, hindi lang sa Philippines but globally. So women, around 23% are slightly more likely than men to fall victim to workplace violence and harassment over their working life. Okay? So pero mataas siya pero parehas. Halos parehas sila, si women and men. So merong ding harassment pagdating sa lalaki. Women were also more exposed to psychological and sexual violence and harassment at work than men. Okay? So dito makikita natin na 70% of health workers worldwide are women. Including dito sa Pilipinas po ha, yung ating, dahil sa population natin, mas mataas talaga yung ating mga women workers. But only 25% of those hold leadership roles sa ating mga working places. And across the globe, women in the health sector continue to experience and suffer from work-related sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment, which includes yung ating sexualized verbal abuse, sexual assault, o yung, this one is defined as crime po dito sa Philippines. It's a form of rape also, but in a form of sexual assault, and rape by carnal knowledge. So, ayan po, nangyayari pa rin siya dun sa ating mga kababaihan na nagtatrabaho. 30% of women worldwide have been subjected to either physical abuse and or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. Okay po? And sexual violence and harassment in a workplace setting is more common among women. Ito nga yung sinasabi ko kanina, 8.2% than men na 5%. Among the types of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment experienced by women in health sector, ito pong ating mga kanina, yung nabanggit kong sexual remarks and jokes. Okay? Yung pong pinipenalize kanina ng batas, hindi lang yung misogynistic or mga homophobic remarks, but also yung mga sexual jokes, yung ano ba tawag dito? Parang nagsasabi siya na or it constitutes yung sexual jokes niya na nakaka-offend. Mga green jokes ba? Ito yung mga green jokes na tinatawag natin. Abuse of interns or juniors. Okay? And threats, retaliation, and abuse of power. So ito daw po yung ating mga klase ng harassment, sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment sa ating workplace, sa hospital setting. Bakit po? Ano kaya yung dahilan? Gender inequality in health workplace, according to the World Health Organization, health workforce increases the risk of this sexual exploitation for women, where women are marginalized in leadership. Yan daw po kasi. Earn less than men on average and are in less powerful roles. Kasi nabanggit nga natin, 25% lang po ang nag-hold ng leadership. So data showed that women hold only 25% of senior leadership roles in the health sector. So it creates an enabling environment for SEAH or sexual exploitation with a pattern of men in higher status positions abusing power to coerce and force women employees into unwanted sexual contact in a cycle of grooming, threats, and retaliation. Okay? So yun po, yun yung reality na nangyayari talaga siya. Kasi dahil mas mataas yung estado ng karamihan sa ating mga kalalakihan, so pwede pong ma-take advantage ito. Take advantage against women. And also very timely po, nabanggit ko kanina yung bullying, discrimination, and harassment against medical professionals during the time of COVID-19 due to the creation of stigma. The pandemic affects women and women differently, sabi po ng World Health Organization. Whilst men have higher mortality rate, women are more exposed to the virus, as they comprise 70% of healthcare workers in the front lines. Women are also overrepresented in the essential industries such as dun po sa ating mga retail, in the hospital setting, in tourism and manufacturing. Women are also comprised the majority in providing maternal care, elderly care, online teaching, childcare, in pharmacies, in grocery stores, and in social workers. So nakikita po natin yan dito sa Pilipinas. This crisis has exposed the vulnerabilities of women and girls along economic health, unpaid care work, gender-based violence, and access to justice. So nangyari po yan lahat. Ang alam ko kasi, maliban na po nung panahon ng, ito pong panahon ng COVID, nung nag-uumpisa siya, yung pati allowance ng ating mga healthcare hindi po sila kagad na ibibigay and hindi nakakauwi yung ating mga healthcare provider dahil nga lack of manpower, tapos nagkakaroon pa ng stigma paglalabas sila sa hospital na kulang na lang hindi sila pasakayin sa ating mga sasakyan, pampubliko, ayaw silang papasukin sa ating mga pampublikong restaurants or establishments. So ito po yun. And then other examples of harassment in healthcare, hindi lang po sexual, pwede ring disbelief in symptoms. Ito naman po ay patients, towards patient harassment. Yung stereotyping about gender affects how doctors treat illnesses and approach their patients. Hindi lang po kasi, sabi ko nga, anyone can be a victim of gender-based. So hindi yung hospital natin, hindi siya magiging hospital unless may mga pasyente. So pwedeng makumit ng medical practitioner or healthcare worker yung GBSH against dito sa ating mga or towards sa ating mga patients. So paano ba yung mga examples? For example, sabi a 2018 study found that doctors often view men with chronic pain as brave or stoic, but view women with chronic pain as emotional or hysterical. Also, the idea of women exaggerating pain or symptoms remains an implicit bias in healthcare. Okay, so another is workplace harassment, bullying, and discrimination. Ito naman, a 2020 study of older women doctors found that age and gender-based harassment, discrimination, and salary inequity persisted throughout their careers. So malaking factor daw po dito yung pagkakaroon ng harassment and bullying or discrimination ay dahil sa seniority and professional experience. Were contributing factors to discriminate other healthcare professionals and staff. I myself, ano po ako dito, naka-experience ako ng bullying dahil sa noong time ko po na ako yung naging nurse, mataas po yung supply over demand. So ang nangyari, mga volunteer nurses po kami noon at hindi ka papaswelduhin. Tapos pagpasok mo, may senior volunteer pa, may junior volunteer, may senior volunteer, and binubuli ka nila sa lahat binibigay sa iyo yung trabaho. So that's already a form of gender-based sexual harassment. Okay? Preference by patients of medical staff based on gender and vice versa. Ito nga yung sinabi ko kanina na pwede rin siya maging discrimination, yung pagpili ng patients and yung medical staff and vice versa. Okay? Mga misogynistic remarks. So with that, anong magiging effect ng harassment in healthcare? So one, magkakaroon ng knowledge gaps. A lack of inclusivity in medical research has led to gaps in knowledge. This means that doctors know less about female, intersex, and trans health than male health. In one study, it was found out that 50% of respondents have had teach their doctors about caring for trans people kasi hindi sila aware about kasi may preference. So hindi nila interview masyado yung mga trans people. But this study is abroad po. Lack of women in leadership. So a 2019 study found that in academic medicine, many people view men as naturally better leaders than women. This may explain why the number of women in leadership positions is disproportionately low. So which is nangyayari po siya in reality. Delayed diagnosis. When doctors do not take a patient's symptoms seriously, nabanggit ko kanina, it can keep the person from receiving a correct diagnosis for many years. A 2019 analysis in Denmark, for example, found that in 72% of cases, women waited longer on average for a diagnosis than men. Okay. Next is inadequate symptom management. Doctors not believing patients also prevents people from getting help with symptom relief. For example, doctors who dismiss the severity of chronic pain may not provide women with pain medication. Avoidance of medical care. Ito dito siguro nangyayari to. Ako kasi yung research ko po yung research ko sa aking juris doctor is immunization. So even if meron tayong EPI, expanded program immunization, bakit hindi ina-avail? Ang taas po kasi ng rate ng hindi pag-avail ng parents or ng mothers with regard to doon sa ating mga mandatory immunization. So isa doon yung isang nakitang findings dahil doon sa Dengvaxia o yung stigma, natakot na yung mga mothers na i-subject yung kanilang mga babies sa vaccine, any form of vaccine. Okay, so ito yun, parang in a way, ito naman, gender-based naman. People who no longer trust medical professionals or organizations due to negative experiences. may avoid getting necessary care. This may be a factor in vaccine hesitancy. Kasi nabanggit ko nga, a Harvard survey found that only 47% of non-pregnant women who did not trust public health agencies plan to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, and then last would be abuse, neglect, and death. So gender discrimination can lead to actions that increase the risk of patients dying. For example, the idea that heart attacks mainly occur in males and a lack of awareness about how they affect females contributes to higher rates of females dying from heart attacks. Okay, so ayan po yung mga effect of harassment. Ngayon naman, alam natin yung mga effect. Ano naman yung trabaho? Ano yung duty? Anong dapat gawin? So ito po yung duties of employers. Kamukha lang siya ng kanina. This is based according sa batas. Yung kanina natin na binanggit na mag-disseminate or mag-post ng copy of the law, yung conduct of anti-sexual harassment seminars such as this, yung ating creation of CODI, and yung ating mga code of conduct or workplace policy. Okay? So yung CODI, yung duty po ng CODI na yun, nilutukoy ko pagdating sa workplace, ito yung adequate represent the management. Okay? The employees from the supervisory rank, the rank and file employees, and the union, if any. So, yung CODI po na yun, meron silang, may mga members. Yung members po na yun, isa coming from the management, one from the supervisory, one from rank and file, and kung may union. Next, designate a woman as its head and not less than half of its members should be women. Ito pong ating CODI. Be composed of members who should be impartial and not connected or related to the alleged perpetrator. So kung halimbawa, related po siya sa perpetrator, pwedeng mag-inhibit yung member. Investigate and decide on the complaints within 10 days or less. So ito po, nasa batas ha. Kapag may nag-file ng CODI, nag-file ng complaint sa CODI, dapat within 10 days nare-resolve ba? Hindi po siya natutulog. Okay? And then protect the complainant from retaliation and guarantee confidentiality to the greatest extent possible. Hindi po siya minamarites. Okay? And then next is liabilities of employers. So kung hindi po ginawa ng ating mga employer yung kanilang duties, so hindi ginawa or hindi pinatupad, meron po siyang fine of 5,000 to 15,000 pesos. In addition to liabilities for committing acts of gender-based sexual harassment. Ito po yun. Next, ito po yung pangatlong area naman, yung online. Online or using information and communication technology. Ito po yung ating considered as sexual harassment pag nandoon na po sa online. So gender-based online sexual harassment includes acts that use information and communications technology in terrorizing and intimidating victims through pwede pong physical intimidation, psychological and emotional threats online. Okay, so nananakot siya through online. Next is unwanted sexual, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, and sexist remarks and comments, yon, online, whether publicly or through direct and private messages. So kung halimbawa, i-claim niya, ay hindi naman nakita ng public, hindi ka naman napahiya, tayo lang naman dalawa. No, GBSH has already been committed. Pag po, kahit na private pa rin. Okay, kahit nag-comment, and even yung mga yung paghahaha, yung mga emoticons, okay, it also affects, di ba, nakakaharas, intimidate din yung mga yon. Tapos sasamahan pa niya ng terrorizing or intimidating comments. Okay, invasion of victims' privacy through cyber stalking and incessant messaging. So hindi mo naman siya kilala pero message siya ng message sa'yo, or kilala mo siya and yung mga mini-message niya dun sa friend ko nga na nagsisend ng mga obscene images and then nagtatanong ng comment about that. So it's a form of sexual harassment. Uploading and sharing without the consent of the victim any form of media that contains photo, voice, or video with sexual content. So pwede po, maliban sa pwede siyang makasuhan ng Photo and Voyeurism Act, pwede rin po siyang papasok dito sa Safe Spaces Act. Any unauthorized recording and sharing of any victim's photos, videos, or any information online. So the word is unauthorized. Okay po, hindi niya alam. Pero kapag yan ay consented, hindi mo siya masasabing unauthorized. Okay, pero pera po yan sa bata. Pag bata, hindi po nakakapag-consent. Up to 16 years old. Impersonating identities of victims online. So, yung po gumagawa ng mga fake accounts, okay? yung mga nag-impersonate ng identity tapos magme-message ng iba. Mga harass or maghihingi ng mga pera, which is common po ngayon yan, hindi ba? Ayan, pwede po yan violation ng Safe Spaces Act. Posting lies about victims to harm their reputation. So, nagmamarites, gumagawa ng kwento sa online. Okay po, filing false abuse reports to online platforms to silence victims. So, bandang huli yung pang-offender ang nag-file ng false abuse reports. Okay po, para hindi na lang magsusumbong yung kanyang victim. That also constitute GBSH through online conduct. Okay. So, ito po mas mabigat yung mga penalties pagdating doon sa ating online sexual harassment, imprisonment up to 6 months, or fine not less than 100,000, not less than 100,000 yung kanina po dun sa public airs, hanggang 100,000 lang. Ito, aabot siya hanggang 500,000 or both. Imprisonment and fine. If the perpetrator is a juridical person such as a corporation, its license or franchise shall be automatically deemed revoked. Yan po yung consequence, and the persons liable shall be the officers thereof, yung mga president, yung mga board officers po, including the editor or reporter in the case of print media, and the station manager, editor, broadcaster in the case of broadcast media. And then an alien who commits gender-based online sexual harassment shall be subject to deportation proceedings. So even aliens are covered under this law. Pag sinabi po natin aliens in legal terms, foreigner po. Foreigner ang tinutukoy. So sila po ay pwedeng makasuhan din ng Safe Spaces Act. Maliban sa mapa-fine na sila, and then masasubject pa sila sa deportation. Okay po. So, implementing bodies natin sa online, kapag lang merong mga biktima, ito po, meron tayong PNP Cybercrime Group, and meron po tayong Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Council of the DICT. Kaya po kanina, nasama po natin sila sa ating mga implementing bodies. Okay? Ito po pag online. Yung kanina nabanggit ko sa public spaces po yun. Ano po? Next is ito pong qualified, gender-based threats, public spaces, and online sexual harassment. Ito po, kaya tinawag natin siyang qualified kasi po, mas mabigat po yung penalty, mas mataas. Kapag po daw yung safe space na violate and it was committed in a common carrier or PUV po, like jeepneys and all, the perpetrator is the driver and the offended party is the passenger. Mas mataas yung penalty. And kapag po yung offended party, a minor, senior citizen, person with disability, or breastfeeding mother, nursing a child. Okay, offended parties diagnosed with mental problem. Perpetrator po, yung ating offender is a member of the PNP and the AFP. And yung act is nagawa while in uniform po si police officer and committed in a government agency offering frontline services. Tulad po ng ito pong hospital, ano po, frontline service po siya to the public, and the perpetrator is a government employee. So nakocommit po siya sa hospital, government hospital setting. Qualified po yan. Mas mataas yung penalty na pwedeng ibigay. Ipataw po ng batas. Okay? So, nakatatlo na tayo. Nalaman na natin yung ano yung conduct, sino, at saka paano, at saan, paano, at saka sino. Ngayon, ito yung pang-apat. Is an act still considered as gender-based sexual harassment if the perpetrator says they did not mean it? Nabanggit ko na kanina, yes, an act is considered gender-based sexual harassment regardless of the perpetrator's motive. Number 5, is an act still considered online gender-based sexual harassment if the perpetrators do not do it through private messages? Madalas po kasing tanong ito. Yes, online gender-based sexual harassment is considered so regardless of whether it is done publicly or privately. Next is, are minors, ito po mga minors natin, still liable if they commit gender-based sexual harassment? Kasi po sa batas po natin, favored yung mga bata. Kapag po less than 15 years old yung bata, exempt po siya from crime. Okay? Pero dito po sa ating safe spaces, ang sabi, yes, malaliable po siya. Minors are still liable for committing gender-based sexual harassment. They will be given disciplinary measures by DSWD under the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2006 po. And nabanggit ko na rin kanina, number 7, are foreigners still liable kapag to commit gender-based sexual harassment? Yes, foreigners or aliens are still liable for committing gender-based Ang mangyayari po, foreigners who commit gender-based sexual harassments will have to pay fines and then serve their sentence kung binigyan po sila ng imprisonment, and they will be subject to deportation proceedings. Number 8, ito po, napaka-importante. What can I do if I see someone committing gender-based sexual harassment? O kung naging witness po tayo, ito po, you can report the incident to the nearest security guard, kung meron po, or police officer who can apprehend perpetrators in flagrante delicto. Ibig sabihin po, or caught in the act. Pag caught in the act, pwede po tayong magsumbong. Okay? You can also conduct a citizen's arrest without warrant if the facts of the situation, if the perpetrator has committing or is attempting to commit gender-based sexual harassment. So pwede po yung citizen's arrest. Next is you can also report the incident to your school authorities. Kung sa eskwelahan po na setting, sa ating sa hospital setting, meron din po tayong mga authorities, especially yung mga heads ng per department when applicable. So schools which have reasonable knowledge about a possible act of gender-based sexual harassment, ito po nasabi ko na kanina, kung meron siyang reasonable knowledge lang, even if walang complainant, should conduct an investigation outright. Okay? Ganun din po sigurado dito sa ating mga hospital setting. Okay? Kahit na walang complainant, meron po tayong CODI, may nakapagsabi, dapat mag-conduct outright yung ating hospital administrators and officers. Okay po. Number 9, what assistance am I entitled to if I report a case of gender-based sexual harassment? So ano naman yung, kung ano man nag-witness naman ako, ano naman yung assistance na makukuha ko? So co-workers should provide assistance by refraining from discouraging others from committing gender-based sexual harassment. Huwag siyang itolerate. Okay? Reporting with witness acts of gender-based sexual harassment. So i-report yan. Providing emotional or social support to fellow employees who have experienced gender-based sexual harassment. Next, dito po sa ating MMDA, dyan po sa Metro Manila, and the PNP should provide assistance by, yun na nga po, enforcing anti-sexual harassment laws, ordinances, and policies, apprehending perpetrators caught in flagrante delicto, keeping ledgers of perpetrators, yung po sa blatter nila, to determine how many times the perpetrator has committed gender-based. So, alam ko po may separate report, yung mga PNP natin, specifically designated for the crimes of gender-based. So tinatali po nila yan, even kasama doon yung perpetrator if habitual delinquent na po siya na nagko-commit ng sexual harassment. So pagka ganun po, heavier penalty siya. Okay, schools should provide assistance by, yun na nga po, creating of codes of conduct of workplace policies, adopting and publishing clear grievance procedures, reporting witness acts of gender-based sexual harassment, and creating a committee on decorum and investigation with the woman as the head, and conducting an investigation on cases of gender-based sexual harassment, which they have reasonable knowledge on, and taking appropriate steps to resolve the situation, eliminate gender-based sexual harassment, prevent their recurrence, and address their effects. And lastly, ito pong ating privately owned places, open to the public, such as yung ating hospital. Ito po yung maibibigay niyang assistance, adopting a zero tolerance policy. So, wala po siyang ito-tolerate. Zero tolerance policy against gender-based sexual harassment. So, yung pong zero tolerance na yun, nakapost po yan, para aware yung lahat ng lalabas at papasok sa hospital na may zero tolerance policy ang hospital. Apprehending perpetrators in flagrante delicto or caught in the act. Kung nasabi po natin kanina na pwede kayong tumawag ng pulisya. May hotline po dapat na nandyan especially sa ER, yung mga may nagme-medical legal. So may mga hotlines po dyan bago nila i-conduct yung kanilang assessment. So tatawag na sila ng police, especially kung sinabi na ng biktima na meron sexual harassment, kung patient siya, and kapag naman medical professionals dun sa mga supervisors. Okay, coordinating with local authorities immediately after gender-based sexual harassment is reported sa ating mga nearest barangays, and making CCTV footage available to courts. So, ngayon, alam ko po pagkakuha ng building permit, required na po yung CCTV footages, CCTV, installation of CCTV cameras, I mean. Tapos para, especially if it is a public place, makikita po sa CCTV yung commission of the crime. So, na pwedeng i-order ng court to be released. Okay po. So, last, yung ating number 10. Number 10 are establishments, employers, schools, heads, or PUB operators. So, kanina hindi na lang po pala yung perpetrators, no? Tinatanong po dito, pati ba yung employer, yung school heads, o yung PUB operators liable if their employees commit gender-based sexual harassment? The answer is yes. Okay po. Matindi itong batas na pati itong mga employers, school heads, and yung mga operators, kasama po sila. If the perpetrator is the driver, nabanggit ko po kanina yan, and of a PUB or of a private vehicle covered by app-based transport network, such as yung ating mga Grab, the owner or operator may be liable for the offense of the employee. So, magbabayad po sila through a presumption of negligence on their part. Kasi kinuha mo yung empleyado na yan despite the fact and pinipresume ng batas na alam mo, nag-conduct ka ng mga interviews and examinations para ma-determine yung integrity and credibility ng tao. So, pinipresume niya na kilala mo yan. So, pwede kang managot as employer. Okay? Restaurant. If the perpetrator is an establishment, the officers of the establishment will be held liable. Okay? So, may-ari po ng Jollibee, McDo for gender-based sexual harassment. The establishment's license and franchise shall also be revoked. Okay po, kapag ka-empleyado dun sa Jollibee, dun sa McDo, at sa ampang mga restaurants and establishment. Okay, employers, principals, school heads, teachers, instructors, professors, coaches, trainers, or any person who has authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over another in an educational or training institution may also be held liable for non-implementation of their duties, yung mga nabanggit ko po kanina, under the Safe Spaces Act or for failure to act on reported cases of gender-based. Ito po yung sinasabi ko kanina na 5,000 to 15,000 na fine. Okay po. Others, ito pong ating batas na ito, meron po siyang confidentiality clause. Sabi dito, at any stage of the investigation, prosecution, and trial of an offense, under this act, the rights of the victims and the accused who is a minor shall be recognized. So, meron pong confidentiality clause. And exemptions, yung legitimate expression of indigenous culture and tradition, as well as breastfeeding in public po. These are exempted from the violation of safe space kung nagpa-breastfeed yung ating mga nursing moms. Okay po. And yung ating pagminsan kasi diba doon po sa part sa taas, mga ating mga ifugals, meron po sila mga kasuotan nila obscene. Pero they are not considered as obscene dahil ito po ay legitimate expression of indigenous culture and tradition. So exempted po sila from violation of Safe Spaces Act. So ito po ang aking mga references. Diyan na po nagtatapos yung aking presentation ng ating Safe Spaces Act.
Thank you so much, Attorney Huco, for providing an overview, background, and significance of the Act, and discuss how the law can be observed and amplified with workplaces. Remember that each and every one of us has the role to make spaces safe. Each of us has a responsibility to respect each other, mapa-empleyado man yan, patient, or any clients. Everyone has a role to play ending gender-based violence and sexual harassment. Dahil lahat tayo ay may magagawa at makikinabang din naman. So again, thank you so much, Attorney Huco, for providing us this information. I would like also to thank our administrator for ensuring our workplaces continue to be safe space for all of us. Thank you. All right. Everyone, do you have a question for Attorney Huco? Upon checking, Attorney, wala po
Wala, maliwanag yata sa mga, magagaling kasi talaga yung ating mga medical professionals. Naniniwala ako doon dahil isa ako sa mga medical professionals.
Yes,
So,
Attorney.
oo, so siguro kaya wala silang katanungan. Nakuha nila, naintindihan nila yung ating mensahe.
Opo. So, now that the link for this post-training evaluation will be flashed on your screen. Kindly screenshot, and it can be only accessed using your FUMC Gmail account. Kindly use this link to evaluate this program. Your certificate attendance will be sent also to your FUMC account. And lastly, may we please ask everyone to kindly open your camera, video for the photo opportunity.
Photo of the.
But before we take the photo, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Special thanks also to our IT department, especially Mr. Nicole Pacomio for extending their assistance for the technical aspect for this webinar. Everyone, kindly open your camera now for the photo opportunity. Sir Nicole, can you please assist us? Thank you. Sir?
1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Thank you, Sir Nicole. Again, I'm Verna Diego and wishing every one of you a wonderful day. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Ma'am Lay. Thank you,
My pleasure. Thank you.
everyone.
Good morning again, everyone.
Thank you. Everyone, you may leave now. Thank you for staying patient.
Thank you.